You're listening to Women Are the Journey with your hostess with the mostest. That's right, me, Audrey Groeschel. We've got all your journeying here. We've got the story of the shift, where women entrepreneurs talk about their own unique journey on the road of owning a business as a woman. We have the journey of Chew on This, where I talk about the masculine structures of our society, how they hinder women in particular, but all of us in general. We'll open up the potentials of what a balance of feminine and masculine can give to us and to our planet. Join me as we explore the infinite possibilities of a journey of balance and transformation. Howdy, everybody. It's Audrey Groeschel, and it is Women Are the Journey, and we are into this episode's Chew on This. And today, we are going to talk about business. Everybody's favorite thing, because it revolves all around money. We got to have business, and business is important, or it's terrible, or it's awful, or it's wonderful. And oh my goodness, here we go. I'm going to be talking about the basic structure of business itself. I'm going to be going after the way it's put together and how it is not balanced to allow for the feminine. Let's just jump right in and talk. Let's go first off with where business came from. This is a thing. Business is thousands of years old. I mean, if you come down to it, the basic tenets of business was built on trade. Trading with your neighbors, with the other, with the town that was 10 miles away, or anything like that. That was business. That's how it started. And trade was actually pretty balanced at that point. There wasn't a hierarchical structure. There was what worked best for me and what worked best for you. And there may not have been even money transferred at that point. There may have been a product for a product. And that was a good thing. It worked fine. There wasn't a whole lot of superfluous things back then. There was more necessity-based trade. And then we moved into the more masculine end of everything. And we stepped into business where money was exchanged. And when money came into the picture, it automatically went into masculine. And that had a lot to do with the fact that women weren't allowed to have money. For crying out loud, women were the property. They were worth something. They were worth money. Maybe. They were worth the goats, weren't they? They may not have been worth cash, but I'll tell you what, there's plenty of people out there that paid for wives with goats and property and things like that. Or actually, they may have been not just paid for to be able to get them, but their dowries were goats and property and things like that. And either way, once we get into the money aspect, we're talking about the business, at least the start of the way we understand business right now. And the only people who were really doing business at that point were men. When we had trade, women were in the trade too, because they traded what they did. Their art projects, their craft projects, that was traded with other women. And once we got into money, that was a totally different ballgame. And that became business. Business at that point was designed by a man, by men, maybe not a man, although who knows, you know what I mean? Where's your time machine for that? Let's go back and figure out who first started this. That would be kind of funny, actually. But either way, okay, let's get back to this. So, there we are with men creating business based on a financial transfer as opposed to a trade transfer. And they had businesses. There were the bakers and the tanners and the shoemakers and anything else that you could come up with. And they had to be paid. And that was when money came and business really was created. And men ran the business because women didn't run businesses, because they weren't allowed to even own them, for crying out loud. Men created it to fit them, because why wouldn't they? And because, look, I'm not trying to judge men on this. Men moved our society forward in a huge way. And business was definitely one of those things that moved our society forward in unknowable fashions. There's so many ways, which it's awesome. There's bad things, of course, but there's always going to be, the good with the bad. But men designed business to fit the way they think. Of course they did. It's not like they did it on purpose. They just created a type of business structure that worked for them. They were the ones using it. They could have cared less about making sure that a woman understood it, because for God's sake, women weren't allowed to be understanding business. So they made it to work for them. Come on, people. That's exactly how it started. It wasn't done on purpose to exclude women. Women were already excluded from it. Women didn't have any rights. Women didn't have property. They didn't have money. They didn't do anything. They were chattel, for God's sake. And yes, of course, that's a masculine structure right there. There's your patriarchy, if you want to call it that. There it is. You're absolutely right. But business, we're talking business. We're not talking about how we got to the point of women being chattel. We're talking business itself. Business was created by men to be able to make it function for them. If they'd created it any other way, it wouldn't have worked for them, because it doesn't work with the way their brains work. They couldn't have thought their way through it, because it would have been too outside of their own structured, linear, aggressive, goal-oriented boxes. They couldn't have done it. They had to make it work the way they thought, the way their brains worked. That is why business is structured the way it is. Now, mind you, business has definitely evolved from thousands of years ago. Business has evolved from 50 years ago, for crying out loud. Business is nothing like it was 50 years ago. And that's a good thing, because you know what? We're moving into another evolution of it. It's going to change again. It's going to always change. And that's okay. But the problem is that so many of us don't understand how business is a masculine structure. So much out there is bent on saying that business is gender neutral. And that is straight bullshit. I'm sorry. There's no crying in business. Well, that may be true, but no, it's not. And it doesn't have anything to do with crying, to be honest. It has everything to do with emotion, not crying. It's funny because all I can think about right now is there's no crying in baseball. Tom Hanks, thank you. There's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in business. All right. Whatever. Sorry, I was just off on that little tangent. Okay. So the thing is, we've got business out there that's structured around the way men think. It's structured around the way their brains work. And our brains just don't work that way. And I mean, come on, people, we know this. You know damn well that men think different than women do. That's just the way it is. That's normal. It's biology. And it has to do with the way men and women are put together, period. All right? That's just the way it is. And look, we're all a balance of masculine and feminine. And there's no one single that is the exact way that we do things, or the exact wrong way that we should not be doing things. But business is still structured around the way the masculine brain works. It's linear, it's structured, it's hierarchical. It is aggressive. It's goal-oriented. It is everything the way men think. It's certainly not personal. Now, a man can take it personally. He gets fired. It's part of who he is. And that's a whole different aspect. That's a whole different subject. But for women, the personal is professional and the professional is personal because there's no separating it. Because everything in our brains is connected. And everything in our brains is connected to the emotion, to our feelings, to the way we think, to the way we structure all of our own things, all of it. But that's a whole other story too. But getting back to business, women come into business and try and fit themselves into that masculine structure because those are, and here we are back again at the rules. Those are the structured rules for business. That is the way you, quote unquote, do business. So women fit themselves into it. And we're immediately told that we can't be emotional because, oh my God, you can't be emotional. Well, guess what? That's how we think. So when you're told you can't be emotional, you're out of a huge bonus that helps you think and figure things out. You're hamstringing yourself immediately by not being able to access your emotion because that's the way our brains work. So there we are with business. Told that we can't do this, told that we can't do that, and that we have to think the way they think. That doesn't really work. And I think it's one of the reasons why we have a glass ceiling. I think it's one of the reasons why women entrepreneurs fail. I think it's why women have such a tough time, that they're called ball busters, that she's a bitch, that she can't, that she cries at work, or, there's just so many horrible things that women are called in business. Whereas, if you're a man, you're tough and you're strong. Or you're a pussy and you need to get out. You're not made for this, that kind of thing. Which, of course, is really insulting because, okay, you're a pussy. Well, that means that, you're a girl. What do you think of that? Women aren't really respected as women because they're having to be men in business. Women go into business. They're given the breaks because they're women. So we've got our little equal opportunities. And they get in there. They can even get hired and promoted and do the things that they do on merit. But they actually have to try a little bit harder when it comes down to it. Because they have to override their natural ways of thinking, their natural ways of being, their natural intelligence and connectability and outside the box thinking in order to thrive. They have to become men. That makes us really inauthentic. But I could talk about that for a very long time. Let's get back to the actual structure of business. The structure of business, like I said before, really designed for men. And we're at the point now where there's more women in the business world out there working than there are men. And we're still trying to fit ourselves into that masculine structure. In order to get ahead, in order to even keep our jobs, we have to do things the way that they're supposed to be done. It's time to change those things. I don't have all the answers for that. I'm hoping that I will get some ideas thrown at me from everybody. But today's Chew on This has more to do with opening your eyes to the not on purpose patriarchy the not on purpose idea of men doing it to us on purpose, but more the idea that business came to be in an evolutionary fashion, and it was designed by men for men. Not on purpose to hurt women, but just to keep men going, to be able to help them protect and provide for their families. And we're still playing by a lot of the same rules, and those rules need to be addressed. And we'll start addressing them as time goes on. So that's it for today. I'd love to hear some feedback. Anybody's got some comments, questions? You think I'm wrong? You think I'm right? Let's hear it. I'm up for it. And thanks for listening to today's Chew on This. I hope it definitely gave you something to chew on. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will be talking at you again soon. Hey everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends. You can follow me on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher at Women Are the Journey. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.